better. Why don't you try that introduction again?
Sorry about that. So yeah, Tim Johnson. I've got connected with Orvis because I've been an Orvis-endorsed fly fishing guide for almost 15 years now here in Utah at Falcons Ledge. And my 9-to-5 work is I work with kids on the autism spectrum. I do therapy with them, and usually using recreation as a modality for doing that therapy. And so fly fishing is how I got into that by volunteering at the Veterans Hospital here in Utah, working with vets with PTSD, teaching them how to fish, how to tie flies. And through all of that, continue guiding. That grew into artwork because I've drawn all my life, of course. Designed some flies for Orvis that are in the catalog, things like that. So in one way or another, fly fishing has been part of my life in just about every way that I live my life. So that's kind of the short. But I love to talk about artwork with you guys. I've been a guide for a long time, and I love fly fishing, so I love to talk about fly fishing. Got a lot of interest and willing to blab about any of them.
So Tom Rosenbauer has joined us, and he wants to know if he can use a purple crayon, just like Harold.
Purple is the preferred crayon, especially if we're going to be fishing for golden trout with purple par marks with a purple haze. And then it's the crayon you really need most. So that's good.
Excellent. And what kind of paper will you be using this evening?
Well, I've got a 9x12 sheet here, but it's approximately the same as an 8.5x11, which I wanted to do so you guys can grab a letter size sheet of copy paper or whatever and still be able to follow along. And I'm going to start off just using a pencil too. Like I said, I wanted to bring this down so anybody can do it. So I'm not going to break out the watercolors or oil paints or anything like that. I want everybody to be able to get involved. So yeah, just simple paper, whatever you got is going to work.
We should also mention that the man behind the camera shooting you is one Spencer Higa of Higa SOS fame.
Quite the talent.
There are two rock stars in the room.
Yeah, it's a party up in here.
What is your art background, Tim? Did you study?
Not really. My background from art, I think, stems from something that we call ADHD, right? So ever since I was a small child, I loved to draw. And anytime I was in church or in a meeting or wherever I was, I could pay attention as long as my hands were moving. So I've been drawing forever. And that continues to this day. I mean, I'll be in my therapy meetings with the other, or clinical meetings with the other therapists, and I'm drawing something all the time. And so that has just kind of evolved. I add another medium here and there, and then get to the point where, of course, fish was going to become involved in that, all along the way. I mean, those meeting doodles include things like, I'm wearing this shirt right now. So this Orvis tee that we made with the stonefly on it, this I literally drew while I was in one of my meetings. In fact, I'll bet I've got a stack of doodles that I've done. This one is probably familiar too to some Orvis people. This is was on hats and t-shirts as well, this Drake. So always drawing, always making art. So I guess you could say that's how you get your 10,000 hours of practice, is you have a little bit of ADHD and then you're forced to do those 10,000 hours of practice regardless. So
yes, and I highly recommend that you follow Tim on Instagram, because you get to see a lot of those doodles on airplane napkins and
you give them away.
Any piece of paper you can find.
Yep.
Garrett wants to know why Spencer's behind the camera.
Well, if you've seen Spencer's face, you know why he's behind the camera there. Is that what he meant? I don't know if that's what he meant. Was he accidentally?
I think that was the implication. All right. So, Tim, I am going to turn it over to you. I got my piece of paper right here. I got a pencil. My 15-year-old daughter is going to do it with us. Hey, there she is. There's Claire. And I am the world's worst artist, so let's see what you can teach me. So I'm going to remove myself from this frame, and you can switch cameras and have at it.
Awesome. Let's see if we can make the technology work.
Exactly. And Spencer, if you can ask any questions that come through, go for it. And if not, then we'll get them at the end.
Should I turn my camera off?
Let's see if we get it successfully transferred over here to the other camera or not. Is this going to switch over for us, Phil?
I can't talk to you when I'm removed, but I can remove the. Once you get that one running, I'll make that the only camera.
Okay. I don't know why it doesn't have video right now. So it's black on my screen too, so I don't know why it's not working.
Maybe it's
Here, I
sad.
can just.
We can just have Spencer do the over-the-shoulder shot. Maybe that's what we need to
I'm
do.
not getting paid enough to do that.
All right.
All right. So I'm
right.
turning everything off. It's just you guys.
All right. Thank you, Phil. All right. Well, we you make Spencer Higa your technical guy, and all of a sudden
A little awkward.
we can't get the camera. We can't get the camera that we want, but we do have the over-the-shoulder shot here. I've got my paper right here, so go ahead and throw out any questions you want. Like I said, any sheet of paper is going to work fine. Your 8.5 11 is going to be about the same size as this. So go ahead and use that, and the proportions will still look the same. And my goal here today is not to show you a bunch of technical stuff and try to take you to the end of art. My goal here today is to take everybody who's doing artwork right now and try to make it so that you can come out with something that you're happy about and get you started along the art process. So don't be intimidated. Let's just get rolling on here, and feel free to
hold
stop
on, Tim. Let's see if we can get that other camera working. Otherwise, we're gonna have to. Everyone's gonna have to take a Dramamine before they watch you draw.
Okay.
Just go back out and log back in or something.
Spencer has too much coffee.
Let me chat with you on this camera while I just go out, and then I'll log back in.
Tom Rosenbauer says it's nice to be on this side of the camera.
Tom is very polite. Tom always warns you before he gives you distressing movement on the camera and tells you to look away. You probably should have done that as well.
So we should let everyone know this worked perfectly during dress rehearsal.
It really, yeah. Okay, I'm entering the broadcast studio.
Oh. I think we have it.
Boom, boom.
All right, so I'm going to remove the other two.
Okay. Bye.
Turn off your audio. All right, is this better, guys? We feel safe? All right. So I'm actually not going to draw this the way that I would normally draw a fish. When you've drawn tons and tons and tons of fish, you kind of have a process that you go about it. But I want to draw it in a way that you guys can understand it right away and kind of make this happen, even though you haven't drawn, 1,000 fish in your lifetime. And so to do that, like you've probably seen in some drawing books and stuff like that, you kind of start out with primary shapes to get the shape of the fish. And a lot of people who have messaged me have said, Tim, I love coloring the fish. I don't have a problem with that. The thing that I can't get is the shape of the fish before I go to work on it. So the first thing I want to do is just kind of make for a trout specifically, it's going to have a generally oblongate, oval shape going onto it, right? So I don't know if you can see this very well, but you want to draw it really lightly.
Hi, Tim.
These are going to be the final line we use. So just gotta.
Tim, I'm back.
What's up? What's up, Bill?
Do you have a darker pencil?
Yeah, I'm gonna come into this darker so you can see it better.
Okay.
Can you see that line?
Okay, I can see it now.
Showing up for you guys. Okay. So and proportions are important, guys. The way that you really, my theory on artwork is that it's like 80% seeing things, the way that you view the world. So if you can see things and then understand what they look like, you'll be able to translate them into a two-dimensional painting a lot more easily. And if you can't see them, then you'll never really be able to transfer them because you won't know what you're trying to do. So what you want to understand is the approximate proportion of a fish. And this is just going to be one trout. They're all shaped a little bit different. Some are longer and skinnier, some are fatter. So I get kind of that oblongate circle going on. And I like to judge proportions just using my pencil really quick. So I can take the tallness of that, the height, and then say it's 1, 2, about 3 times as long as it is tall, if that makes sense for you. So that's an easy way to judge that kind of thing. And I do that all through artwork. I'll look at a source and measure ratios and then can translate those ratios to my paper. It'll help you stay and keep things in proportion. Okay, so off the rear side of this, this is going to be the tail of the fish here to my left. I'm going to take this taper out and flare, and this is making the waist of that trout, what we call the waist, or building into what we call the caudal peduncle, right? Is that little part of the tail over here. So I'm just going to taper that back out and then kind of round it. And this is where the flesh of that fish ends and the tail begins. So I've kind of made it to this point right now, right? And then the tail itself will build off of this, off of that caudal peduncle.
From Ireland. Sweet.
Oh, I got somebody from Ireland. I once convinced a whole group of people that I was from Ireland for about 6 weeks. Because when you're in America, you don't have to have an actually good Irish accent to make people think that you're from Ireland. This girl walked up to me and she said, "Hey, I've got a question for you." And I said, "What's your question?" She said, "Are you from Ireland?" I didn't actually ask her what her question. She said, "This is going to be a weird question. Are you from Ireland?" I said, "The way you ask if I'm from Ireland is it because I have my red hair? Is that right? Because, you know, not everybody in Ireland has red hair." And she doesn't know that this isn't a real Irish accent. She knows that this is a stereotypical Irish accent. So she totally buys into it. She's like, "Oh, no, oh, that's amazing." She thought for a long, long time that I was Irish and I was from Ireland. Anyway, I warned you guys. I told you I have ADHD coming into this. Don't feel like you weren't warned. Okay, so I've got that shape of the tail here, kind of tapers in and then flares back out. And behold, we have the tail of a trout coming on. You can see it gets a little thinner and a little wider right there, right? And these smaller details of the fish, we're not going to make a super detailed fish today, but the smaller details will vary from fish to fish. And you'll start mastering them when you start, again, seeing and you start recognizing the specifics of the fish that you catch. And then you'll think, oh, when I'm going to draw this fish the next time, I'm going to change this because that's how it actually looks on the actual fish that I'm catching, right? So those kinds of things will help you out. Okay, the front of the fish is going to end up being a little more pointy than that, right? The head. And so it's going to taper out a little bit more. And then we can use the rest of this fish to kind of break down what our other proportions are going to be. If I have the body of the fish here, I can see that it's about midway is going to be here in the body of that fish. And at that midway point, we've got the pelvic fins that will come in down here and the dorsal fin that will be up on this top side of it. So just in general terms, the location of those things are going to be here. I'm not making the final shapes of them. That's just telling you where their positions are going to be. And then y'all probably know that this is the ventral fin. And the ventral fin comes right before the vent. That's not why it's ventral fin, but it's where the pooper, as Spencer likes to call it when we fish together, right, Spencer? I don't know if my super offended, not getting any auditory response, so you're just gonna have to forgive me. But yeah, so this ventral side of the fish comes down, has the vent that we euphemistically call it right there. That if you look really closely at a fish, it actually kind of comes down a little bit and then up toward this. And there's more detail on here that we can add in your drawings as you go along. I'm not going to get too crazy specific, but here's kind of the shape of the back of our fish. The flat part of the belly comes up toward the tail and the caudal peduncle. My ventral fin is underneath that, and a flea triangular shape. Obviously, it curves in a little bit on this side. Maybe it's your fish. Try it how you want. When we work with kids on the autism spectrum, we like to say, if you've met one autistic kid, you've met one autistic kid, right? You can't try to like all the same. The same is true of your trout. Your trout are not all the same. Trout the way you want your trout to be. Okay, cool. Opposite of that ventral fin on the dorsal side, we have on this fish that doesn't have rays in it, that doesn't have little spires going through it. That's the adipose fin, the fatty fin. And that's roughly teardrop shaped. If you were Joseph Tomoleri and you draw all of your fish with the fins completely splayed out, if you haven't seen him, he's an amazing artist. And he does these drawings that are more accurate in some ways to the fish than a photograph would be, because he splays all of the fins out so you can see everything perfectly. It's like a very scientific drawing. Then you would probably have fin, you'd see where it attaches over here and it stands out from the body of the fish a little bit. And that's a choice you can make. The positioning of your fins and all of that is that's a call you make for kind of the attitude of your painting or your drawing and how you want it to look. So feel free to go off the beaten path here and explore the studio space and figure out how you want to do it. That's how my looks. Okay, dorsal fin. It's similar to that ventral fin in its shape. It actually connects probably somewhere up here. It comes back, curves up toward the dorsal part, and then back down. So don't do a shark fin that curves way on it. It's again roughly triangular, a little spur on this back. That's the general shape of that dorsal fin for you. It could obviously be a lot lower if you want. And again, throw in the details you like for the fish that you catch or where you see them. I fished with Spencer Higa, fishing in SOS actually, Spencer Higa, on the Madison. We caught a rainbow, a lot of rainbows, and I noticed that they had a lot of rainbows will have a white tip on the dorsal fin here. I noticed those Madison River rainbows at this particular location had an orange tip, which I thought was really cool. And so that's something that I would bring into my artwork later on and say, hey, this is a Madison rainbow. It's got that orange tip on the dorsal fin. Those are those little details you got to look for when you're fishing. Bring it back. Okay, down south from the dorsal fin are our pelvic fins, and there's two of these, right? They kind of come out from the body of the fish like this, out from each other. They're good stabilizers. And you can draw one or make it look like there's two, however you feel like. And if you're a Joseph Tome, it'd probably just be one because you'd have a perfect sideways view of this fish. They're kind of more rounded paddle shaped than those other ones that we've drawn. And if you want a second one in here, the impression that there's one on the other side. This one will have a little bit different angle, right? It's coming in from the other side, but however you want to do it is fine. Boom, pelvic fins. Okay, now we're going to get to the fun part. Well, the funnest part is putting colors on them, but this is good too. Okay, to the head. When you draw a bunch of fish, you'll get where you have a way you like to do it in a process. Maybe you like to lay out the whole shape of the face all the way out to the operculum and where everything's going to fit together. Maybe you want to start from the eyeball and just, this is a long time, so it feels comfortable to me. The mouth, the upper jaw, the maxilla here, and it's kind of shaped this way. You guys know this flap that comes out on trout. Upper, you know what I'm talking about, because sometimes they're gone when a fish has had a rough interaction with a fisherman early on in its life, and then frequently you might get some tippet wrapped around. That's this guy. So you got that, and then the maxilla fits into a little pocket right here, and it completely covers it up when the mouth is closed. When the mouth is opened at all, this is another way. The more you know about the reality of the thing that you're drawing, the more specific you can get in the way that you draw it, the more you can change it and adapt, know from your mind the way that it should be in quotation marks, but the way you want it to be, the way that would best reflect nature, I guess is what I say. And one of those things is as the mouth opens, that maxilla comes down, the mouth spreads out, the gills usually open, and you'll expose more of this pocket that I'm drawing right now behind the maxilla. Okay. So if I were drawing mouth really wide open, I'd have the maxilla come further down, like to here, more space of that pocket behind it, and a more open jaw. But this one's kind of gently opened, like maybe he's taking a little water in through the mouth to go out through the gills, or maybe he's just finished sipping an SOS. I'm just gonna keep pumping that for you, Spencer. I'm just gonna keep making them. So I'm gonna start penciling the lower jaw here. You got to make decisions about what is your fish going to look like. Does your fish a huge brown trout and it's got a cape that's curved back toward the area of its mouth? I'm just gonna give it a little subtle bit of a hook jaw in there, just a little cape going on. And then my lower jaw will come back this way. I'm going to come back to this actually. This is all going to join up with the lower part of the face, and I'll show you how it works. Too fast, or if you want to see something again, let Spencer know, and Spencer will let me know. Or if you have a question about anything, just let me know. I want to help you guys through this. I don't want you to feel this.
Wants you to draw a walleye.
Tom wants me to draw a walleye. I could do it. Did he actually put that?
Yeah, oh.
I did a walleye Timmy grip actually. I got that on my. If you go to my Instagram, Tim Johnson you'll find walleye in there at some point. Somebody committed to do a walleye Timmy grip, so that's the first of those. But no shame in walleye, man. Those things are delicious, by the way, if you've tried one. Okay, so the kind of the rest of the face that goes on there has this oculum, the gill plate, the covering for it, is back over here. But what I like to kind of come to next is the placement of the eyeball. And in drawing terms, the way I like to think of it is there's obviously an eye socket, but the structure of it leaves almost a little shelf here that the eyeball behind. And so I'm gonna put that shelf in almost as a space holder, and then eyeballs are roughly circular, but they're probably more accurately kind of an oval most in there. Maybe I'll put in a little bit more of that kind of eye socket space with some oval extension here. We're not going to get crazy with the details on this. I would just want general lines and simple shapes for you guys to begin with, and then you can get crazy for whatever detail you want to add into them. Within that eyeball, and again, look at the fish. I have a fish, and you'll be able to see how they're shaped and what they're made out of. But we're going to have some concentric. We're going to have some other circles inside here to build up the shape of that eyeball. You're going to have an outer eyeball, and then this is roughly translates to the iris of a human eye, and maybe it's called the same thing in a trout. I'm sure it is. They have the same structure, and then a pupil within that. And that isn't shaped exactly like a circle. It's actually shaped more like a, kind of pointy at one end. And but again, look closely. You don't need me to tell you. Your eyeballs can tell you. Just take a look and replicate what you're seeing the way. So here's my eyeball. So that girl who asked if I was Irish, and I didn't actually say I was from Ireland yet. She said, why are you asking if I'm Irish? I'm redheaded. She didn't want to be like a, anti-Irish racist and say we're all redheads. But she said, oh, it wasn't because of that. I was like, oh, it's because of my accent then. She said, I hadn't even heard your accent. I said, then why did you ask if I'm from Ireland? That, well, you walk like an Irishman. Did I walk like an Irishman? What does that even mean? She said, those guys on Braveheart. And I said, they're Scottish. I guess that's true. So, yeah. And then, of course, I had to keep rolling with it. So she's like, well, where are you from? And I'm from Cork, it's down in the south of Ireland. That's where I grew up. And just kind of went with it. And until she didn't know me anymore, she thought I was from Ireland. And maybe this is the first time that she's realizing that I'm not. Sorry, friend. I'm not actually from Ireland. Directly, I'm sure I have ancestry. So here we go. The front part of this operculum is going to kind of build off of the this maxilla. You're going to have to get crazy with it. It's going to be essentially part of a cheek or a line up here, right? And then you got your larger, more rearward part that starts a little bit higher than, and you can different trout and you'll see them shaped a little bit differently, but it doesn't go however you feel like doing it. Mine's kind of peak a little bit more back here. It's going to come toward this other part of the operculum, and then it's going to come down, and this is going to become the bottom part of the jaw. It's actually going to come from this. Pay no attention to the sounds behind me. Spencer Higa has just decided that he wants to trample all of my. That's no problem. So that jaw is going to come forward and kind of come underneath, just like that. If you look closely at what these fish are actually built like, you can see things like this rearward operculum being divided into more than one part, like this. We won't get into all that. In fact, all of the choices in terms of color and things like that, I want to leave it more up to you. So we're not going to get too crazy with it. But underneath this operculum, so you actually see the I don't know what they're called. They're not the gill rakers. Those are inside, but the other plates that cover the gill come down this way. And that is going to join with the lower part. This is kind of the soft below the bony jaw of the fish. You've seen that. If you clean a fish, if you've ever cleaned a trout, you cut here underneath the jaw and then separate from there. That's the part we're drawing in now. So some little lines going forward to kind of form those gills. And we've got kind of the rough shape of that head and the body, the various fins. What are we missing? Do you guys know? It's the one that the bull trout spends all day on the bench press to make these ones that just look super hot for the lady cow trout. Yeah, it's the pecs. That's what I'm talking about. The pectoral muscles. Let's put those in. So again, fish move, and the fish use them to do different things. And from what I've seen, the pectoral muscles move maybe more in terms of different positions than any of the other parts of the fish. He'll tilt it one way if he's trying to hold against the bottom. He'll tilt it another way if he's cruising up toward the surface, and then there are a lot of controls going on with the pectoral fins, which makes sense because it's closest to the head, so it's steering the head where to go. You can photos that you've seen of fish, or they do, and translate those pectoral fins to what your fish is doing. Is it going up to rise? Is it holding itself on the bottom? Is sometimes they'll actually put them kind of forward as a brake, kind of stopping, and you'll see a lot of sunfish species will almost paddle them like that to move around in different positions. But my really simple way to draw them that I think has looked cool, and so it was one of the first ways I used to do them, was just kind of letting it come back on the top like this, kind of a little curved line. It's that big, thick, front end of the pectoral fin like this. So it's kind of out toward me a little bit. And it's just a simple way that you don't have to overthink too much to draw that pectoral fin. Okay.
Brian wants to know what the most memorable photograph you've ever taken.
Brian
Eldridge.
Brian Eldridge is not handsome, but a very powerful man. The most memorable photograph I've ever taken? Well, once upon a time, I was fishing the Strawberry River, and there was a rattlesnake, and I got a picture of that rattlesnake's tail. I'll show it to you sometime, Spencer. I don't know if I have it on my Instagram. If I don't, I'm going to post it on my Instagram. Rattlesnake tail that I saw out on the Strawberry. Actually, don't tell my wife I touched that rattlesnake, Spencer. It's a true story.
I'll say.
That wasn't the smartest thing I ever did. Kids are listening to this. Kids, don't do that. Don't do that. That's stupid. I could have died. Don't do what I did. It was a horrible idea. Okay, now I'm looking back at this fish. And, part of art, I said, is seeing things as they are and then translating them to paper. And what that all means is I can look at something that I've drawn and I can try to determine what seems out of place from what I would draw, what I wanted to draw, or what I think is reality. So one of those things is, if this is a small fish, it can have a relatively large head compared to the body. If this were a really big fish, it's way too big for the rest of this body. So if I'm drawing middling-sized brook trout, this is great. If I'm trying a big brown trout, this is not great. In fact, this hook jaw right here implies it's kind of a big fish, so I probably don't want that on there if I'm going to change the size of this head or change the size of the body, right? But that doesn't really matter. I mean, people aren't going to be at what you're drawing unless they're having money for it, so draw whatever you feel like, guys. Another thing is this maxilla, I'm feeling like it doesn't go far enough down into the jaw, so I'm going to adjust that a little bit. I'm going to give a little more length on that.
For a question.
Yeah, hit me with a question, Spencer.
Okay, Bob wants to know, do you draw from photos a lot versus memory?
Great question, Bob. I don't know if you guys all heard. He's asking if I draw photos a lot or from memory. After all the fish that I have drawn, I feel like I know a lot about them, and I'm not going into a bunch of the detail and showing you the things that I would know about these fish. I'm trying to keep it simple, but I could I even do tests of myself. I'll say, I'm going to draw this fish. I draw it specifically enough that I want you to be able to understand the species of the fish without putting any kind of skin pattern on it, right? So I want you to tell the difference between a brown trout or a brook trout just based on the shape. And that's a test for me to say, Tim, how well do you remember? Do you know how these actually are built and what they look like? And as a result of doing a lot in the fish and remember. As an artist, I feel like I don't actually understand the structure of something or the reality of its contents unless I have actually drawn it. And then once I've drawn it, I'll remember it. Does that make sense? And that could be any fish, or it could be I don't know, when I was a kid, I liked to draw guns too. So, if it was 7, then I didn't understand what it looked like until I actually drew it. And then I knew the structure of it. Guys, I grew up in Arizona, and I live in Utah. Now they're frontier states. Don't judge me. You gotta take care of snakes and such every once in a while. You gotta be careful out here. It's the desert, so. But yeah, so I draw a lot from memory, and I draw more from memory because most of my drawing is, again, sketching and do. But if I'm doing a commission for somebody, frequently it's based on a fish that they actually caught. So they'll send me a photo of that fish so I know what I'm working from. So I definitely work a lot from drawings, but I probably do more, or a lot from photos. If I were counting them up, I've done more drawings from memory than from actual photographs. Okay, so we've got our shape of the fish. And I think it looks a pretty generally good body shape going on here. And then there's other parts that if depending on the species, I might put in a little lateral line here. And even if this doesn't show up prominently in the fish, I might put this in here space holder what I'm going to be doing in the future, because the way that the spots are concentrated, the size of the spots, those kinds of things. If it's a brook trout, where are my vermiculations going to end, and where are my spots going to begin, and where are my blue halo spots going to begin? Those are in relations to different structures. So the lateral line is it's the physical change in the fish, so it might as well be where I indicate my coloring changes and things like that. So I'll put it in there as a placeholder, even if I don't draw from it. And then all of the fins in this fish, with the exception of the adipose, are going to have rays in them. You can just remember that all of them come from the body of the fish out. So I see some people sometimes drawing them from the front of the fin to the back of the fin. That's not the way they work. They come from the body of the fish, and they kind of run slightly, kind of parallel or along with the front of that, but then will curve usually and expand more as they go back, right? We could talk about counting the number of rays, how it varies by species. For a Pacific salmon, there would be way more rays in this ventral fin than there are in a trout. We're not going to worry about it. We're just going to these rays coming back, and they give us that feel for the fish.
Favorite fish to draw.
My favorite type of fish draw is that is like asking Tom Rosenbauer what his favorite fly is. Actually, in my life, guys, and I think part of this is the work I've done in psychology, I almost favorites. I don't have favorite things in general. I'm in charge, guys. So I'm going to tell you a little boring theory on this. I feel like most of the favorites that we have are arbitrary things that come from an event in our life that was powerful or we liked a lot too. My daughter Bailey says her favorite colors green and blue, but that's only because I was standing in line with her and my friend Grant Bench, the fly ninja. If you check him out. And he said, Bailey, what's your favorite color? At the time she said green. And he said, oh, my color's green. Or no, she said, what's your favorite color? He said green. She said, no, my favorite color is green. She wanted to take it from him. And then he said, oh, I was just kidding anyway. My favorite color is blue. She's like, no, my favorite color is blue. My favorite colors are green and blue. And now she's 12 and she's brilliant and she's amazing. And her colors are green and blue. And they were 100% on just trying to steal those colors from Grant Bench, right? So I don't know how much I actually believe in favorites. And when as it comes to fish, my favorite fish to draw is going to be one that I haven't drawn for a while. And barring that, one that just has some awesome color. And so I really colored up cutthroat trout. Colorado River cutthroats out here in Utah are beautiful. I love those. I love brook trout, of course. I just did my first golden trout Timmy grip. I'll just flash that to you guys here really quick.
That's the next question.
This is the first golden trout in terms of Timmy grips. And look at the colors on that thing. How can you not love painting that thing?
Do you ever get nervous making a grip on an expensive rod?
Question is, do I get nervous making a grip on an expensive rod? I used to. I don't really anymore. Because I've done a lot of them, guys. Thanks to Orvis, by the way. I did, 500 just for them last year. So I feel like I have a lot of experience doing it. But there is no, but I've proven to myself, I have confidence in myself, so I don't get nervous, except for, and here's where I get nervous. I don't have a problem doing your $1,200 rod anymore. But every once in a while, I get a rod that is absolutely 100% irreplaceable. And those do make me a little bit nervous. And depending on what I'm putting on there, I've done thousands of fish in my life. I can draw a fish for you. But every once in a while, I get a special rod, and it'll be a very special design on it. And then I have a friend here in Utah. He's probably listening. He probably knows I'm talking about him right now. He had a son who's a guide, a great fisherman. He passed away, and he gave me the rod of his son. This is a one-of-a-kind rod. This is Mark Greer. Gave me his son's rod. It's absolutely irreplaceable. This is his rod. And he asked me to burn an image of his face into it. So drawing a human face is a whole different thing. Look like a human face. We're designed to recognize individual faces. So you have to make it look like that face. So that was a little bit nerve-wracking for me, to be honest with you. And I'm not even being facetious here. It's almost a religious experience for me, the face of his son on that rod. So that's where I get nervous now. Doing a fish or rod, I'm totally comfortable. You can trust me. I'm going to take care of it. But there are times when I'll still get a bit nervous. As we've been chatting, you've seen that I've been continuing to put these rays in. And like I said, they move body out toward the end of the fin and kind of expand a little bit from each other. This is where you stop usually if you're drawing the fish. But again, if you're weird and you look super closely at fish, you'll notice things like as the ray comes back, it's thicker at the beginning and thinner as it comes out. And you've probably noticed that. But they actually, most species will divide and you'll have thinner pieces of rays coming back here. Like that, like I did on this ventral fin. I'm not going to draw all those in because I don't feel like it right now, and I don't think that's what this drawing is. Look for those little details, and then add whatever details you feel in your fish that you're making. Where should we go from here? We've got all the structure mostly laid out. Again, we could get more detailed about like the shape of these textures and different angles that you have on the operculum and things like that to kind of separate it out. When we get into color, there's a whole lot of too. But let's go back to this pupil really quick. It's going to be dark on the inside. That would work. So darken it in. If you want to leave a little bit of light reflection, you can do that. If you're painting this, it's very convenient and very cartoony to just leave a little light spot on the pupil, like I'm doing here when you're drawing it. In reality, on this sphere, if there were light reflected on it, it wouldn't be just in the pupil. It would be over whatever portion of that sphere reflecting the light. So it would go into the iris and things like that. It would be more than just that on the pupil, but I'm not going to worry about that right now either. Okay, so I can add some shadow into the underside of the socket or the lower parts of the eye. The iris will be a little bit later as it gets right next to the pupil and a little bit darker away from it on most trout. If we're doing an Apache trout, I'd put a dark spot on each side of the pupil here. They look like they almost have a line going through their eye, which is super cool. You'll see this on some other species of cut throughs like that too. Again, make fish, whatever one you're drawing. And if we were doing just a black and white sketch, I'd start reflecting, the different light distribution to the painting, where it's reflective, where it's shadowed. And if I'm going to paint it, then I wouldn't have done any of this nearly this dark. I would have just kind of made placeholders. I would have kind of outlined the fish and then gone in with my paint and built up with paint rather than drawing it in. You got to think with the end in mind. You're creating these things. Most artists begin with a drawing, and that's another reason why we're working on just with pencil right now. You guys to get an idea of how do we create the fish, and then you can go from there and do whatever you like. And once you've built up the shapes that you want, you can start using darker and harder lines to create what you want, or you can after shading for all of the structure of it, whatever you like. We're just having fun. Now the question is, do we want to start talking about how to draw in scale pattern or spot pattern with a pencil? Do we want to transition to colored pencils? You guys busting out some color on talking might be applied to these fish? Is there anybody? Yeah. Spencer votes for color rather than continue with the pencil. I don't want to jump there if 90% of the people, my only fear.
Hey, Tim.
So if you are somebody who doesn't want me to do color, yeah.
So I think what you've done right here is super brilliant. And I think people would love to maybe see you color it in, but maybe a little more quickly and
No time.
Maybe we can do a whole nother lesson on color at another time. But I think they would just love to see how you would finish this.
What do you say? How what?
How you do the color?
They want to do it now.
You want to do the
Why don't you just very, very quickly, I mean, as quickly as you're comfortable, color it in.
Oh,
we're
so
already
rather than
40.
doing the step by step and having you follow along, just kind of show you a rough.
Yes, exactly.
Sure, I got you. Okay. This is hard for me to do, to be super honest with you. I get persnickety about my. I'm gonna do it just like you're asking for, Phil. And don't judge me too harshly, guys. I'm not gonna get too overly focused on this if you want. By the way, I'm throwing in some shadows on this stuff just because that's something I like to do too, give a little dimension. I'm getting a lot of votes for color. Okay. In the end, guys, I'm get super, we're just going to go into a little bit. What I'm using for color pencils, these are awesome colored pencils. I don't actually have a full set because my wife still, I've got to see what we can do with what we had. So let's use, what kind of trout should we? I'm not going to do a brook trout because it takes too long.
Cutthroat.
A cutthroat? Okay, we'll do a cutthroat. Okay, so when we're talking cutthroat, and this is one of those situations where it's really nice to be able to look at a photo and say, this is the color, this is where the colors trends, how they look. The cutthroat I'm thinking of is a mostly kind of yellow body color. And as you can see, I'm not going to get too crazy about getting everything precisely placed and stuff, because one of the nice things about color pencils and Prismacolors in particular is they blend. You can blend them into each other, and that's okay. So kind of a yellow body. You guys know what the back looks more like. It's going to be more, you say olive, brown. It's somewhere in between there. Your fish might be a little different than other ones, might be a little more gray. A professional strength coloring job here, and that's okay. We're having fun together. This is something I want everybody to understand. I heard so many people tell me, well, I'll have my kid come do it. I'll invite my artist friend to come do it. I'm not going to do it because I don't draw. Guys, that's total bullcrap. Like when you were a kid, you created some way. Like you did some kind of art, even if it was just building stuff with mud in the backyard. I think humans have an innate passion for creation. And I think most of us drew, at least for a while. And I think we gave up on it, usually because we hit, an age in elementary school or something where other kids looked at our drawings and said, oh, they're not as good as Tommy's drawings or Jim's drawings over there. And we stopped because we didn't want other people to see our drawings. I think that's horrible. So you guys should draw. And I want you to be proud of your drawings, even if you don't think that they're super realistic looking. And I mentioned this on the video I did for Phil. I want to see drawings, actually. I want you to post your drawings on Facebook, on Instagram. And if you post your trout that you drew and you tag me in it, Tim Johnson, I'm going to find one of you guys. I'm just going to have to randomly choose one or two, or one. I can do in one drawing here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trade you my fish for your fish, if you will indulge me. Just because I want to encourage you guys to be proud of your artwork rather than comparing your artwork and getting shied away from doing it. So post that on Facebook and tag Tim Johnson Gallery so I can find it. And one of those will get randomly chosen. We'll switch them. We'll trade. If you're willing to trade, maybe your fish is awesome and you're like, Tim, your fish is on trade. So yeah, tag me, Tim Johnson Gallery, and we'll do that.
So Trey wants to know, are there any fish whose natural color is burnt sienna? Because that's the only crayon he owns.
Yeah, so fortunately for you, almost all fish are burnt sienna. So that's really, really good. Here's the thing. Burnt sienna is essentially sepia, right? This one in sepia tones, and you'll sound more fancy than me by far. So do that.
And then he wants to hear your views and techniques on adding scales.
Adding scales. Here's my theory on adding scales. I know how to add scales. Sometimes I do add scales. Usually I don't add scales. And why don't I? Because I don't want to, There's a lot of them. It ceases to be fun for me at some point. And if art is not fun, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do it. So I on some Timmy grips, I will for sure burn in scales. I just did a carp grip. You'll notice every scale onto this. I did that because the carp scales are really big. And so I could get through it without having to feel like I need to stick my finger past my eyeball into my brain and just squiggle everything up, because I can only handle much of that. So if I win scales on this, you can literally get in there with whatever color pencil you want and add them in. Sometimes the idea of a scale is best intimated by just adding a very light spot, like a reflective tone on those scales. So I'm adding just a little white dot. You'll see that in paintings a lot. You'll see an artist just kind of put a little light colored reflection on it. And the way that I would do that, because I could tolerate it, is I wouldn't do all of the scales. I just say, okay, here's where the light is reflecting most off of those scales. So I'll have a few of those reflect that light back. A great fish artist that I really, George Hill, you'll see him put that, he'll just have some kind of light reflection off of some of his paintings on some of the scales rather than all of them.
Remind everyone what kind of paper you're using.
The paper I'm using, I don't even know what this is. This is probably a Strathmore something. yeah, it's Strathmore Bristol paper, has a little bit of texture to it, but honestly, guys, it's not super important. Whatever you get is going to work. Yeah, so I got some general yellow coming in through my cutthroat here. Let's not get too crazy. I'm not going to transition to a bunch. I transition to infinite different colors here as we move through, but I'm not going to do that because, again, that's not what my drawing's about today. I'm just having fun. So I've got kind of my general yellow body on. My fins are going to be, I'm just going to start with a yellow base for the fins as well. You can make them a little more green than mine, whatever you like. Probably add some orange in later too. I'm just doing a base layer. I don't know how much time we have, Bill, so I'm trying to get here. I like some ink in the cheek on my cutties because it's there and it's one of my favorite parts.
You have 12 minutes.
Ooh. Again, if this was a drawing I was going to do, I think here were some blues and purple. None of these things is going to be one solid color, right? There's, especially if I want to, show the kind of reflect the idea of different light and texture and stuff like that. I'd be using different colors. I'm not going to stay here with one pencil, but we're trying to get a drawing done that one of you guys will be willing to trade with me. So I know I feel a lot of pressure if I'm going to get you guys to trade with me. So should we do some par mark? I think we should. So choose whatever color you want. I just grabbed a purple. I don't even know what purple this is. In my experience with cutties, you got stout, yay. I could count how many spots there are. You can do that on yours. If I was getting serious about this, I probably would. I was trying to make it realistic. And then a lot of them have, a smaller spot above and below in these kinds of areas. So I might put a few of those in as well. Did I have an Irishman who was on here? My Irish accent. Is he still on, Spencer?
I don't know.
Hey, chime in if you're still here, man. I didn't mean to. I mean, I am, by ancestry, I am Irish. So I'm all of those things. I'm Irish, Scottish, and English. In fact, when I fill out forms for the government, I like to check the other box for ethnicity, and then I put in Atlantic Islander.
Phil said he's here.
Oh, Phil's the Irishman who's here. Oh, that's good. Phil is Irish, isn't he?
You can add spots and stuff.
I'll spots in too, guys. There's some things when you're working with mediums I don't even know which one's right for art, that you gotta do later. You gotta do an order of operations. And one of those, if you're doing watercolor, guys, you gotta reserve the whiteness of your paper because you can't ever put anything lighter on top of something darker in watercolor. You gotta know the color that you're gonna put on right at the beginning, or your hosed. Hosed is from my Canadian ancestry. That's how I use if you're doing a clicker or oil painting, people will put the lighter colors on later, and that's totally their prerogative. It totally works that way. It doesn't work for watercolor. And I feel like I like to reserve abs black as long as I can in my drawing, because once you've made something dark, sometimes you want to make other things in the image darker. And if you've already darkest color you've got, you're done. You don't have that ability anymore. So try not to use black, and only use it when you absolutely know that it's time for black. Frequently, I'm not even using black in my pupil fish. Then okay, let's just because I said that, let's do some black, Spencer.
Let's do it.
This isn't even black. This is dark umber. Okay, cutthroat trout. So with this species of cutthroat trout, I've got pretty big spots, and I've got them concentrated more toward the tail than toward the head. You guys are making me go so fast. This is really rude. Can't believe you did this. And not even look now. Drawing these spots, those par marks behind it are almost vanishing. They're almost gone. And so that's the danger of using a very dark color in a not very dark. They get thinner, farther between, and probably even a little bit smaller as I move toward the head. If you want to get really specific on how I'm drawing this fish, as it tapers away from me over the dorsal side of the fish, the spots would get narrower to my view as they tilt away from me. So you can make them more kind of elongated as you go closer to the top, or you can about that and draw the fish how you feel like drawing it, which I'm always an advocate of. How are we doing time, Spencer?
Good. Wade says, take off, poser.
You take a poser, go jump in a lake.
Got. Let's see what time it is. Like 4 minutes.
I feel like I can quote that because it was Moranis, an actual Canadian, who said it originally.
Andrew wants to know if you're doing the ring or by a photo.
Oh, I don't have a photo around me right now, so this is all by memory. But again, I'm not doing anything that's super elder specific. I'm not pulling out the fancy stuff that I might say, oh, this was really impressive that I remember this. It's just kind of a general trout shape, and then we're adding colors and spots that I paid attention to, and if this is how that fish is. There's a part of the fish that is here. There's like an on cutthroat, it's frequently a brighter color right there. I don't even know what that's called. Anybody know what that's called? Right over the pectoral fin, right underneath and behind the operculum. Yeah, Spencer asked cutthroat. You guys can see that it's there. Guys, if you're drawing a cutthroat, you might say, hey, I'm doing a cutthroat. I'm going to totally accentuate that cut mark underneath it. And you're absolutely within your rights to do that. I'd make the mouth more expanded because then you'd see more of the cutthroat mark. But I think you can tell that it's a cutthroat. But it is. So that's pretty neat. Come back in and throw a little whitish tip here.
So
the end of
that was impressive. Mine looks like a 5.
Sweet. That's a great idea, because if you haven't been drawing fish 2 or 5, that's your fault. So you got to start at the 5-year-old stage then. If you had kept drawing since you were 5, Maddie, like I wish you would have, then you'd be, whatever age you are now. But guys, start wherever you are. And that's the worst thing, is when you start comparing yourself to what it should look like and what other people's look like. And you're like, oh, mine looks like, oh, I'm not very good. Or like a 5-year-old. Post it up on Instagram and tag me. I want to see it. Start having pride in your drawings. Hey, my pleasure. Is that Maddie Best?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I see you liking my stuff, Maddie. I appreciate it. Appreciate your support. So you get the shout out. Boom. There you go.
Do you have any suggestions for a good book who paints and draws trout and how landscapes?
For a good
book.
I really liked Harry Potter. I'm just kidding. I don't know. So you like book for sources for drawing or teaching? I'm not sure exactly what that question means.
So yeah, maybe a how-to book or.
I don't know any how-to books. Go off the top of my head. I didn't go through a lot of the formal training process, but so I wish I had a recommendation for it. I'll make a book. There we go. Everybody buy my book. It'll be ready in 4 years. Phil will help me publish it. He knows that stuff. I want a little more purple in here. I want those par marks to stand out. I think they're. And if I exaggerate, that's okay. It's my fish. Do what I want with it. Bob Ross says that a little more nicely. It's your world. Do what you want with your happy trees. I'm just like, I'm going to do what I want with my fish. One more thing. I want a little bit of pink lateral line going through all of this. Because some of these Colorado release we have up here in Utah, where I guide, they have that coming right through all these par marks. And I like it. So it's on my fish. Do your fish how you want to do your fish. And my way.
Ryan wants to know, did you already sing?
Did I already sing? Oh, it's Ryan Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. He wanted some Evita, I think. But Phil requested Pirates of Penzance. Mm-hmm. Will you sing with me, Spencer?
I'll harmonize with you.
Spencer likes some John Denver. Be like, you fill up my sense. I'm just not getting to it now. I'll spare you guys. Don't worry. Spencer's laughing a lot back here. I don't know if you folks at home can get for that. I'm adding a little green up here because I felt like it. My body grabbed the green color pencil, so I'm going with it.
Someone says, will you be doing another lesson sometime? You should do another Facebook Live.
Hey, man, you guys, you just email the crap out of Phil Monahan and make him do more stuff with me, and then I'll be here. Yeah, just harass him a lot, guys. I'll be posting his personal phone number here later, and his email. I'm just kidding. I don't know. This has been fun. I do it again. What do you think, Spencer? You got anything else, fan?
Jake
Guys at home.
Jake wants some more Bob Ross commentary.
Well,
happy spots.
I'd like to tell you guys about my pet squirrel that I've got up in my bedroom right now, being looked after by my mom. She's taking care of that pet squirrel. He's a rascal, but I love him. It's real good. I don't know what that's like. I want to do Bob Ross. This pectoral fin, I mean, I like to put it here on this side of the fish right here. But, put it wherever you want fish. Put the pectoral fin on the forehead. That's cool. Do what you feel. Do what you feel. I get your Bob Ross out of doing trout with your coloration, with where you're putting your spots, and especially the details of specific trout. Do you want a hook jaw on yours? Is going to have teeth. Do all that kind of stuff. So, am I missing anything, guys? What should I add to this fish to make it just?
I'm jumping in here.
I'm gonna do a little harder line. This top edge.
Yeah, I think.
Am I over? We out of time?
Well, I mean, I get the sense that you do this all night, Timmy.
Phil. Here's the reality, Phil. I'm good all night. Like, you got me started. I'm gonna keep going. So yeah, you stop me and let me know what else I can do for you.
Well,
I
I
want to
say,
remind people, this fish, I'm gonna give it to one of you, but you gotta post your drawing.
are you ready to see mine?
On Instagram or Facebook, tag me, Tim Johnson Gallery, so I can find it and it's coming to you.
Are you ready to see my drawing,
Sorry,
Timmy?
Oh, I'm excited. Whoa! Whoa! Oh, I was looking in, Phil. Such an idiot. I'm sure. Next year. Let me see.
Did you see it?
Oh yeah.
And this is my daughter Claire.
Oh, Phil.
My daughter named hers Gary.
And what's it called?
So, Tim, that is far and away the best trout I have ever drawn in my life.
I think it's beautiful, Phil. I think it belongs hung up somewhere in the ORVIS-HQ.
So, listen, Timmy, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say thank you, and I'm going to bow out. And if you wouldn't mind just maybe taking your camera and doing a super close-up on your trout, and then I'll just end the stream. Thank you, everybody, for coming. But thank you, Tim Johnson. But most especially, thank you, Spencer Higa. You're the true hero.
Absolutely. Big hand for Spencer Higa, everybody. Classic work. And you guys don't get to enjoy his physique that I do. So,
all right, thanks, Timmy. Show us the close-ups now.
Okay, let me detach. Guys, I did a very, very high-tech, mounting system to my light here involving painter's tape. Is this showing up, Spencer?
Not quite. It's jumping around. It will. Okay, here we go. Right now, it's just a delay because it's. Sure. There we go.
Well, there we go, folks. That's my cutthroat.
Okay, thanks, guys. Say goodnight.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Actions on this thread and able to get back to them later even. But have a great night. Keep drawing your trout.